Hi, it's Steve from PartSelect. Today we're going to show you how to change the rear drum bearing kit on your dryer. It's a pretty easy job. Going to need a few tools. You need a number 2 Robertson Square-Head screwdriver or a Phillips screwdriver, 5/16 nut driver, and a number 25 Torx Bit, and a 3/4 inch or 19mm socket with a short extension. Let me show you how it's done. First step in this repair will be to disconnect the power to the dryer. If it has a plug on it, just disconnect it from the receptacle. If it's hardwired, we need to turn off the breaker or the disconnect switch. Next, we need to remove the front of the dryer. To gain access to that, we have to take this trim panel off the back of the console. There's 3 Robertson/Phillips screws. Once we remove that, we'll take the top off and then the front. Two long screws that hold the top on. Lift up on the front of the top, pull it forward, and it will lift out of place. Next, we need to disconnect wires to the sensor and door switch. Should locate it on the left-hand side here. Just disconnect those. We're ready to remove the front. One screw in each end of the brace that holds the control panel in place. Simply lift up on this. And lay it across the top of the cabinet. Those are the 2 wires that we needed to disconnect for the sensor and the door switch circuit. Next, we have 2 screws in the top corner. There are also 2 on the bottom that just need to be loosened. The top 2 need to come out. Pull forward on the front panel. And then lift it free with the 2 screws on the bottom. next step will be to disconnect the belt from the idler pulley and the motor pulley. So we'll put one hand in on the left side of the drum, one underneath the center, so you can feel the belt and the idler pulley. Just put some more tension on the idler pulley, roll the belt off of it. Release the belt. Now we can lift the drum out of the rear bearing. It's a little snug coming through the front of the cabinet. Gives us access to the bearing mount on the drum. Next, we're going to remove the complete element housing that holds the bearing housing. To do that, you have two choices. You can either disconnect all of the wires to the element housing. What I find is a little easier is to release the wire tabs that hold the harness to the back of the cabinet. Just simply depress those from the back of the cabinet, push them in through, and that'll give us enough room to pull the element housing far enough forward. Four screws that hold the housing to the back of the cabinet. Remove those. Take caution not to damage the element. Support the housing when you remove the last screw. It will give us enough access. We can remove these four screws that hold the rear bearing housing. Take the new housing, which comes complete with 4 new screws, so we'll use the new screws on the housing. We'll locate the spring clamp exactly the same as it is on the original. It will line up with one screw hole in the back. Before we attempt to mount that rear bearing housing, I suggest you take one of the screws supplied and cut some new threads in each of the 4 holes. It'll make mounting it a whole lot easier. So position the bearing housing in its place. Just take one screw, start the threads by hand just to hold it in place. Our 5/16 nut driver will snug all of those screws firmly. Now we're ready to mount the element housing back onto the back wall. So locate one of the screw holes in the rear cabinet. Tighten all 4 screws firmly. Make sure the element's not touching the metal bracket at any place. Then we can reinsert all the retaining clips for the wire harness, snap them back into place. That completes the rear portion of our bearing. Now we need to remove the male portion of it from the drum. And there's 3 number 25 Torx screws come through from the inside of the drum. We need to remove those. Support the bearing while you remove the last screw. Once we've cleaned the lint from the rear of the drum, you'll notice in behind that heat shield, you're going to find all kinds of it. We need to remove all of this old lint. Either vacuum it out or take a rag and clean all of that out of there. Once we have that all cleaned up, we can start the reassembly process. Our next step is to reassemble the rear bearing. We need to take the stud, which has a little square shoulder on it, insert it into a holder, and we'll take that 3/4 nut, fasten that to it. If you have a vise, you could clamp this piece in the vise and tighten that nut to your socket. In most cases you can do it by hand. Now we need to assemble that to the drum, this portion sticking backwards. We'll take the new Torx 25 screw, our heat shield, install that into the drum. We'll start with 1 screw in it just to get it lined up. Now that we have one of the screws inserted, make sure the other 2 holes do line up with the holes in the heat shield. If it doesn't, you may need to turn it left or right 1 notch. Line that up, one of the holes on the bearing retainer. Get the screw started. Don't snug them up yet, just enough to hold that in place so we can get the next 2 screws in. And again, don't tighten that screw up too much until you get the 3rd one in. And we're ready to reinsert the drum into the dryer. The tricky part of this will be installing the belt, which needs to wrap around the motor pulley and the idler pulley. The belt has 1 flat side and a groove side, and we need to have the groove side against the drum and wrapped around the motor pulley. The easiest way to do this, put the belt around the drum, lift it into place, and you'll have to install the belt onto the pulleys without being able to see it. It's not that hard. You'll have to work it by feel, but if you see where the end result's going to be, it makes it much easier. So lift the drum into the opening. It's a little snug, so you have to work one side in, perhaps pull the cabinet a little bit, the other side in. We have to line that shaft of the bearing up at the rear bearing housing. When it rotates freely, you know you've got to properly insert it. Now we'll pull the belt forward into the proper groove. And then with one hand in on this side, we'll push the tension spring for the idler over far enough so that we can loop the belt around the motor pulley. Turn the drum, you should see the blower wheel turning. It tells you that you've got the belt on properly. Now we're ready to reinstall the front of the dryer. Now that we've replaced the parts required, we need to reinstall the front panel. I want to make sure that we engage these two slots on the front panel, two screws in the front of the cabinet. Set those in first. Two wire harnesses up, make sure they don't get pinched. We'll lift the drum up slightly so that it fits over the bearing housing. Then we need to line up the slots on the cabinet and the front panel. Reinstall the two screws that secure the front to the cabinet. Secure the two bottom screws. Reconnect our wire harnesses. Lift our console, slide it into place. Make sure it fits firmly on top of the cabinet edge. Reinstall screws, secure that. Next, we reinstall the top. We'll have to line up these two slots at the rear, two little hooks. Pull back, make sure they're firmly engaged. Secure the top with two long screws. And last, we'll install the trim piece in the back of the control panel. Now we're ready to connect the dryer to the electrical supply, and our repair is complete. And that's how easy it is to change a rear drum bearing kit on your dryer. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your repair.